Two guests on today again. As y'all know, last time I had the two females on, now I got the two males. So, what? Y'all go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Who want to go first?
I'll go ahead, man. My name is.
Did we lose him already? All righty. I'll pick up the slack. I'm Stan Evavold or Evo. I'm one half of the Lyman Lounge sports podcast. I also am the president of the No Sleeves Network with my buddy Mike, who is frozen, and he just texted me that his computer died, so it's going perfect so far. But he's the founder and CEO of the No Sleeves Network. We're a veteran-based uh, entertainment network where we have video game streams, podcasts, a whole bunch of different stuff. We put out a bunch of different content, but kind of our bread and butter that we started with was that Lyman Lounge sports podcast. Mike is a big fan of the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland sports in general. I'm originally from Minnesota, so I'm a big Vikings fan. A little bit more of a passive fan of the Minnesota Twins and Timberwolves and the Wild hockey team and things like that. But in general, just kind of a big fan of sports and a very big fan of football. But kind of what we do with our whole podcast, our brand is we are veteran based. So, we like to keep it real, keep it raw, keep it kind of dirty sometimes because, in our community, we can't BS around and cut corners and worry about people's feelings all the time. We just got to kind of be direct, which is kind of what we feel like we're able to do is kind of just provide our direct feedback of what we're feeling, what we're seeing going on in sports or with the No Sleeves Network in life in general, and talk about some stuff like that. So, look, we're super stoked to be on here. I'm sure Mike will be as soon as his computer gets back up. He's been having technical difficulties recently, kind of moving his setup around. So I'm sure he'll be working on getting back here shortly.
So, Eva, I like to give my guests when Mike come back, he gonna get this chance. So I like give them eat their segment. I let them go off about anything they want to. So anything about Minnesota, anything NFL related, anything you want to go off about that sports related, like anything you ain't liking.
I mean, look, so we are, like I said, NFL is kind of our bread and butter at the Lyman Lounge. But one of the things that, I'm kind of focusing on now that we are truly hitting this off season, you're going to see changes and rules and things like that. One of the big talking points has been moving the NFL towards 18 games. And I like to get people's thoughts on that in general. Me, I see it from both sides, both perspectives. But as a fan, as much as I would love to have more football, I know that that's got to be terrible for the players. We are about to already hit into the offseason. I don't think most people understand this, but we're less than 2 weeks away from the NFL scouting combine. Like it happens February 24th through March 3rd. Teams can start designating franchise tag players, transition tag players here on the 18th. And it has to be done by March 4th. Like we are into the NFL offseason real quick. And so when you start to add things like extra games, you're cutting away from those players' off seasons. Yes, they make a lot of money and they're professionals, but there is a physical taxing toll in this job for them. It is going to reduce players' lifespans in the long run. And so, like, from a player's perspective, I hate it. I know the NFLPA does not like it. But from the other perspective, if they add an 18th game, we're pushing the Super Bowl right 1 week. You're getting close to having the Super Bowl the day before President's Day, which means for a lot of people out there, that might mean they already get a day off of work, which is kind of nice if you're feeling a little hungover after watching the big game. So that'd be pretty cool. And then the NFL, I understand it is a business. They're out there to make money. I mean, they're expanding. We're seeing games Australia and all over Europe, Mexico this last year. They are about making money and expanding their brand. So I get why they would want to expand it, but at some point you got to put the brakes on. There's only so many weeks in a year to have those games. So that's kind of been my thing is the dichotomy of should we be looking at an 18 game season? Should we be looking more at player safety and health? Because that's what the NFL likes to report a lot, right? They're about player safety, player health. Well, you're going to take away another week of recovery and everything that's involved with that and into it. So I'm interested to kind of get your thoughts on if there should be an 18th week or not. But that's something that I've kind of been thinking about as we roll into this offseason outside of just prospects, players, how teams are going to maneuver themselves to get ready for next year.
Mike, I'm gonna let you get your ether segment. Eva, your question. The 18-week schedule, I don't think it's gonna work. Now you know how the NBA losing viewership, right? Because a lot of the big time players saying no. I could see that happen in the NFL. NFL, if you really think about it, they're trying to cover it up, but they're losing viewership too. If we being honest, it's just so the 18-week schedule. That's not gonna work. I think really y'all need to go back to the 15, 16, like how they got now. Don't
That'll never happen, brother. They ain't never taking games away. They've never taken games away.
Well, I get they don't want to pay the players and every player got to earn their money, but when it comes to the 18, the 18 gonna turn to 20, and no, I see they're trying to do the expansion with the South America and the Europe. It's cool, but I don't think y'all gonna be successful in that as y'all think. Like the NBA doing it too, they're trying to expand overseas and all that. I don't think it's gonna work because you know how them foreign markets work. They on it. Y'all got the American sports, we got the international sports. So I think it's probably gonna work for like a year or two after that. I think they're gonna start a class because if the American sports take over the international market, them international markets, you know how they get done. They're not gonna like that, but
and look,
yeah,
that's part of the reason why the games overseas work right now is because there is a limited amount. It's a scarcity of resource, so it's a novelty. They get you're only getting so many fans in a stadium so many times per year for an NFL game when it's over there. So it's a novelty for a lot of people. It's just like the average person isn't going to get to go to a Super Bowl because it's cost prohibitive. It's going to be the same thing over there for them. So you start adding more and more and more games. And if you make it a regular thing, it's going to lose that novelty factor. It's not going to be the same. Now, don't get me wrong. Like we're here in the US, we could go and get nosebleed seats at some games a lot of times in the NFL pretty relatively cheap, and you can go relatively regular on a schedule, but still there's some novelty factor to it, but it's not going to be the same. They're not going to have that same sort of market if they kind of overload it, I suppose. But at the end of the day, like I think it's cool that they're branching out and everything, but they've got to decide, do we want to be about player safety and player health and letting them have an off season, or do we just want to be about making that bag? And I think we know what all those old rich whites want. They want the bag, man. They want the money.
True. Okay.
Let's be real about it.
He caught me on guard with that. All right, Mike, what you want to go off about? What you not liking sports related?
Oh, man. Well, I want to say sorry about that. Hello, everybody. I'm Sleeveless Mike of the Lineman Lounge. Also founder of the No Sleeves Network, along with my man, Evo. And appreciate you having us here. Obviously, I missed kind of what we were talking about. It sounded like we were talking about some viewership issues with some games. Catch me up real quick. What was the exact topic here?
Oh, I was just giving Evo his ether, so basically go anything he wanted to. He's talking about the 18-week the 18 game schedule for football, and we were just having that conversation.
Okay,
That's
so there's something that pisses me off.
Yeah,
something like a rant about
anything you want to talk about, something that's on your mind with sports in general. Any topic.
So any topic that's on my mind. Baseball season is right around the corner. Baseball season is one of the longest sport seasons that you could possibly imagine. And the Major League Baseball does a terrible job of marketing their teams to get viewership. I mean, I'm going to kind of piggyback on some of the things that you guys were talking about before. The NFL wants 18 games. They want that money. Of course they do. The owners in the MLB don't really give a shit, it seems like. They just want to, hey, we have a product. It kind of works sometimes. People still buy tickets. We don't need to make hand over fist. Like our Guardians organization traded away a couple players that we didn't really find a way to replace it all, but people are going to still buy tickets. I'm going to buy tickets. And then when you are wondering why baseball is somewhat of a dying sport in America, and especially among the youth, it's because it's not marketed. You can't go on TikTok and see a bunch of clips of dudes playing baseball and Shohei Ohtani hitting bombs. Like, that's not put out enough by Major League Baseball, and it needs to be done more. It's an amazing game. I love baseball, and I cannot wait for the season to start. get back out there coaching myself. But Major League Baseball needs to do a shitload better about the way they market and the way they sell their game, because they do a terrible job. Rob Manfred said fraud.
Look, you brought this up, like terrible marketing. They're losing the youth segment to an extent. Baseball probably has to be one of the easiest barrier to entry sports out there. You need a glove, right? Like you need a glove, and then the team usually someone on the team will have a bat,
Has a bat
and a ball. But like you need a glove, and you can go play baseball. It's one of those easiest barrier to entry sports, and sports are so important for our youth. You know, it bears out through the data all the time. You better in school, you make more friends. You know, obviously you're healthier. All that stuff goes into sports. And when you have something that's so easy to get into, but you are not providing that like pressure from the top, showing like, hey, there's potential to maybe go pro. Like that's always a kid's dream, right? Like I might be able to go pro, whatever sport you like. But if like the sport that you could go pro in doesn't seem that great, like I'm gonna rip a little bit on here, but like how many people go out and play tennis and think as a kid and think I'm going to make it pro as a tennis player? Like it is such a limited group of professional tennis players out there. Same with like golf and some of these, you know, more affluent sports. Those sports, while yeah, they do good for themselves at the highest levels, it's nowhere near marketed, nowhere near seen as much as some of these professional leagues like baseball, basketball, football. Baseball has the opportunity with so many seats in the stadium and so many games throughout the year. Like this has been brought up many times. You see it on social media all the time. Let kids in for free. Let them in for free. Like it's going to make it easier on parents to take their kids to a game. It's a good family event, good family bonding and stuff like that. And the kids getting to experience professional sports, it's going to provide momentum and stuff for them to want to continue playing themselves. Like there's ways that baseball can do little things like that where they're really not going to take a dent in the pocketbook too much by not letting kids in, because you know the parents are going to go out there, buy them all the lickies and chewies, the popcorn, the hot dogs. You need a $8 soda and stuff like that. Like they're still going to make their money, but it's like you lose a little bit off of a ticket and you gain a fan base possibly for life. They could be doing so much better.
Agreed, man. Agreed.
TJ,
what do you think?
I think their problem is they in the old head mentality. They back on like the 70s and 80s and the 40s where, you know, it's just, oh, you should get your popcorn and the peanuts and the hot dog. Man, these people be on their phones like this. Out the gate. Like, out the gate. They try to record. When it comes to social media, they don't. You're right. Both of y'all right. They don't promote. Like, when I be on TikTok, Instagram, and all that, even YouTube, baseball don't, like, you just see basketball, football, and then when it's baseball season, it's like a more like the Olympics or track, or you know, it's everything except baseball. Like, yeah, you might see somebody just made $200 million contract, you know, all that, but they're not really promoting the game within itself, like what the players doing and you know, stuff like that. It's just, if we being honest, since everything seems to be on WWE status, I think some of those athletes need to just start getting in character. Like, yeah. We know all them athletes not good in two shoes. They get crazy just like the other athletes, but I guess baseball want to have this good image, I'll say. They don't want the players to be.
You said it, man. They're stuck in this old way. They don't want to let the kids have fun. People are still bat flips are terrible. Beam guys if they bat flip. No celebrating. No. Give me the juice. Give me the celebrations. Pimp your home runs. All of that. Sell the sport. And they've already sped it up. They helped the game by speeding it up. Now let's inject some more fun. Let's not go crazy. Let's not go banana ball with it. But let's let the kids have some damn fun while they're playing.
Mike and I have talked about this on our pod before. We're not completely against them letting the guys get juicy, letting them take the steroids again, because that was a fun era. McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds. Those are names that you're like, holy crap. Those guys were like doing some crazy things and everyone knew it was happening. And like, yeah, there's a safety aspect with it, but like, if you allow it, you can have a lot more safety measures involved to make sure these guys aren't like completely harming their body. And you know that they're cutting the edge anyways and finding ways to harm their body and doing it more secretive. So it's probably having just as much long-term effect on them. But I mean, damn, man, let them get juicy. Let them go hit those dingers again.
You can get TRT in the mail delivered to your house. The science is good enough. Let the dudes juice. They figured it out.
So y'all want them dudes to be on that special sauce, I call it.
75 home runs a year, TJ.
Like, I don't want to see them go after baseball full Sammy Sosa and like go Caucasian with this stuff. That's weird. But let them get juiced up. Maybe cork a bat here and there. Let the fans see some action. You brought the WWE. That is explosive action right there.
Yeah.
Juiced up, no. Come on, man. Y'all know why they ain't gonna allow that. Y'all know.
I want to see runs. The pitchers are throwing 100. Every single one of them is throwing that hard. Let these dudes juice. Let's watch some balls fly out of the yard 500 feet. Like, you want to sell this as an exciting game? Inject a bunch of offense.
I will say that's probably like we just had a little split here in our message. Should we be going and promoting to the youth, or should we be letting them see just juice up and get real good at the sports? That's probably not the right messaging, but like one way or the other, we got to do better.
I mean, they was able to cover up back then. They can do it now.
Yeah.
Especially with that advanced Madison.
Sure.
You said what? Sure.
I said anything would be better than what they're doing.
Yeah, well, them are two eat their segments. I see they bringing the heat tonight. Oh, let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with the Browns. What's the thoughts on the Browns season and the off season?
I mean, this is pretty quick. It was terrible. It was like objectively bad in every single way. The quarterback play was terrible. The offensive line play was terrible. The running game never got going. The play calling was bad. The defense couldn't get off the field, but they had to stay on the field almost the entire game because the offense couldn't move the ball. There was nothing that was exciting to watch about the Cleveland Browns this year. Period. That was it. This was one of the most dreadful years to watch the Browns that I can possibly remember. Luckily for me, when we went 0-16, I was deployed. I was in Iraq when we went 0-16, so I didn't have to watch all of those. But I was there for 1-15. I watched every single game. Then I watched the last game for 0-16 while I was deployed. This was just as bad. This was more painful almost because we were supposed to be better than what we were, like by a long shot. And everybody who does this job as a professional, everybody who's in the media, who writes about this stuff was like, no, man, everything looks great. Deshaun looks like he's on track. The offense is clicking. And none of that, not 1 ounce of that nonsense was true. It was an abject failure. I cannot say any more bad things about the way the season went for the Browns.
Yeah. Look, it was obviously a rough season, but the season is over. I talked about this with TJ while you're gone. I don't think people understand how we are actually in the offseason right now, that you have the scouting combine less than 2 weeks away on February 24th. Your ability to designate franchise tags and transition tags opens up on the 18th of February. So, like, we are right there. So looking into this offseason for you guys, obviously there's a lot of retooling that has to happen. Biggest limiting factor for you is that cap space, and it's a rough one. But I think the general focus for the Browns, well, you're in the red right now. So not necessarily. Look, the cap is a myth. We always like to say the cap is a myth, and there's ways to figure it out. But you guys have to retool. I think it's a tough spot where you guys are taking pick 2, and there's quarterbacks that are gonna be on the board, but are they really worth it when you look at guys that are going to be available next year? My personal thought is that you guys need to just heavily focus this offseason into getting your books right, setting up for next year, especially in the draft, and then focusing on the trenches. Look, we don't have all the greatest analytics out there, but one of the spots that everyone likes to jump to is PFF. I'm going to read off to you the PFF grades for the offensive lines, the top 10 offensive lines in the league, and you tell me what all these offensive lines have in common, all right? Number 1, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 2, Denver Broncos. 3, Buccaneers. 4, Detroit Lions. 5, Buffalo Bills. 6, Green Bay Packers. 7, Kansas City Chiefs. 8, Carolina Panthers. That's the one team that's kind of like, But 9, Baltimore Ravens. And 10, Washington Commanders. All those teams minus the Panthers were in the playoffs. And there's a reason for that. Trenches win. Like, trenches matter. That's the foundation of your team. Carolina Panthers went out this last offseason, and added a bunch of guys. They spent money to make themselves better on that offensive line. And it showed, especially towards the end of the year once they started to gel and Bryce Young started playing a little bit better. If you want to be competitive in this league, you got to build through the trenches. And right now, the Browns have been super strong through the trenches, and then you guys got old quick and injured quick. If you want to bring in a rookie quarterback, you need to have some sort of protection. If you want to get back to the days where you had a running game with Nick Chubb, you got to have the trenches figured out. And that's on both sides of the ball. Your guys' defense ain't too bad. Like, there's issues, but it's tough when a defense is out on the field constantly for them to look good. All right. You guys focus on that offensive line, and you can put a lower end quarterback in there for this year, and you'll start to look better. And then when you get a new guy next year, that's when things can really pick up for you. That's why I think the focus should be not quarterback this year. Retool the contracts, retool those trenches, and focus on 2026. And that sucks to say, but when you spend as much money as you do on a Deshaun Watson, it puts you in a spot like this if he isn't successful, which, I mean, I don't know how anyone can argue anything other than the fact that he's been unsuccessful.
Well, so I'm going to ask, because you said, if we build the line, that even with a low-end quarterback, we could be successful. I have to push back on that a little bit, because Deshaun Watson has kind of been one of those lower-end quarterbacks since he's been here and has not been successful. So we still need to address that quarterback position in some fashion, whether that is through, we should probably do both, the draft and free agency. It just depends on if we're going to go at 2 with the quarterback or if we're going to wait until those later rounds.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I understand that Deshaun Watson is a lower end quarterback at this point, and he hasn't looked good. But I mean, he hasn't looked good whether you had a good line there or not. So it seems like more of a problem with him or the scheme, right? Which I know that you have your thoughts on scheme and how Stefanski's done, Mike. But like, you're not, how many successful quarterbacks are there out in the league who are playing behind a bottom 10 line? Not too many. You see guys like an Andrew Luck have their career ended short when they have all the potential in the world because they don't have blocking for him. So if you guys go out there next year and let's just say get an Arch Manning, you think he's going to want a second contract if you don't got a line? You think he's going to continue playing like that? Like, he might have a longer career than Luck, but he's not going to want to stay in Cleveland if he's getting roughed up the entire time.
My problem is I be trying not to go against the Browns, especially at the quarterback position. But it's like when the Browns, I'm not gonna speak on the Sean person, but when y'all brought him into the team, y'all knew he had all these off the field issues. Let's dumb it down like that. So y'all already knew it was gonna be a problem. Then Nick Chubb being injured, I don't think he really all that injured. Defense, I thought we had the best secondary in the league. But then I feel like they started, some of them, I ain't gonna call no players now, they just start getting big-headed. You could tell they taking plays off, giving up the deep ball. We weren't doing that a year or two ago. We was no one defense in the league. Then Myles Garrett, I'm not mad that he asked for a trade. I'm surprised it ain't happened a year or two ago, because the fact he stuck with Cleveland this long, all them losing years, and even the year we was supposed to be great, go ahead, man. We ain't gonna do you like we did LeBron. Like, he go here and walk off. Offense side of the ball, the O-line, even when we was 0-16, we used to always have like the top 5-10 offensive lines in the league. With Joe Thomas and all them, Alex Mack.
Very good. We
always had the top. The whole team could be trash. We got the top 10 offensive line in the league, and we had Phil Dawson. I forgot about the kicker. Yeah. But, yeah, the point is, like, with the Browns now, I think Nick Chubb getting tried. I think we just about to, again, for like the 100th time, we just about to, everybody, all the stars about to get traded. But when it comes to the draft, I just hope we don't get Shedeur. Please do not pick on Shedeur Sanders, man. Just don't.
That's the one that I like if we're going to take one in the first round.
Why don't you like Shedeur, TJ? Because look, I like Shedeur in certain aspects, and I don't in others. Same with Cam Ward. I think both of them have high potential, but I don't know that either of them are a top 10 quarterback.
I'll take Cam Ward. It's just Shedeur. I feel like he come with a hype train. Like I feel like he got. You remember when Baker? I don't know if y'all Baker dudes. I don't like Baker. When Baker came, I knew he wasn't about to be. Baker was a let me just hand the ball to Nick Chubb and throw it short. Baker ain't never had a strong arm. Yeah, that was college. He had like top receivers, so of course he could just throw it up. But Shedeur, it's like he good, but it's like you just come with a lot of off the field problems. Like you get what I'm saying? Because it's different from going from college to the NFL. Way more attention, way more people trying to scam you, way more. You know how girls operate. Like, I think Shedeur just. Yeah. I just don't. Yeah,
I do think that he comes with some celebrity baggage, but I think if there's a guy that maybe would understand the moment, because if you make the Browns a winner, you are going to blow up. You're going to be the greatest thing that has ever happened to the city of Cleveland. And the pressure of that, you kind of want somebody that maybe has dealt with some of that pressure before. The spotlight has been on Shedeur for a long time. As soon as Jackson State, that whole thing happened, the spotlight has been on to see what these guys were going to do. Because, I mean, he could have gone to a regular or one of those normal D1 schools. Like, he could have gone to Colorado already, but he wanted to go to Jackson State with his dad, and Travis Hunter goes there. Number one player in the country go down to a school they would not typically go to. So the spotlight has been on, and I think that is one thing that actually kind of helps Shedeur. So if he goes to one of these bigger markets or a place that is super needy, like the Browns, of like a savior, that moment might not be too big for him because he's already kind of done that.
Yeah, I don't think.
Go ahead,
TJ. Well, I was gonna say, like, I understand where Mike's coming from with that. Like, if there's one person that can put up with the pressure and everything, it could be him, because again, with his dad and everything, basically being his tutor from day one and teaching him how to be a professional and deal with the spotlight and everything, like, he's going to recognize that. But I also think that there's going to be a harsher side to that of, there's already been conversations of Deion won't let him go here. He won't let Travis Hunter go here, to bad programs in the NFL. If Shedeur goes to a place like the Browns and they have 3-4 bad years, do you think that he's going to be content in saying, this is my franchise, I'm going to see these bad times through and try to continue helping them? Or are they going to look at this as like, hey, we are losing our marketing capability, we need to go to a bigger market, somewhere where we can succeed, continue our legacy as Sanders, that sort of situation? Like, I feel like they'd be willing to flip the switch kind of quick as well, because they recognize, Deion's going to let them know the NFL is not an old man's game. Like, it is something that you get in and you get it while you can. And so that might push him to want to move on quicker if things don't go well early on.
Isn't that true of any player, though? When you realize that your time is short, you got to make your dollars as fast as possible, get your bag as fast as possible. Cleveland is not necessarily a destination location, but if you win in Cleveland, you will make a name for yourself forever. That's what guys want, in my opinion. That's what Myles Garrett's talking about wanting to trade for, because he wants to leave a legacy. He wants to win Super Bowls. So if you can win and you can leave a legacy, I think that's going to trump the idea of I need to go be in a large market. Shedeur's going to sell no matter what. He already sells at a college level.
The word might be less about a large market, but more about that winning potential. That's what I'm saying, is that Deion might
if you can get it turned around. Everything depends on if you can get it turned around. That's any player. If you can't get it turned around, why are they going to want to come back?
Yeah, for sure.
That's the problem I got. It's like that's why I'd rather take Cam Ward. Cam had to build his own name up. Shedeur been getting the daddy ball treatment since since high school when he was in Texas. Then you went to JSU, and that's why I really just stopped liking D. I ain't got a problem with Deion. It's when as soon as he came to Colorado, he was, that's my quarterback. I don't care about no. Basically, it was like it's like, no, come on, man. Like if Shador went to JSU and you would stop coaching, and then you would say, all right, Shador, you on your own now, go make your own name. He would have been more respected. But the fact it's like you basically been daddy balling him you always be in for power. I mean, we don't say LeBron do it, and a lot of other people like the Mannings right now with Archie. We see it, but the reason I want the Browns to pick him up because Deion not gonna be coaching for the Browns. I don't know. He might. I don't know. You know how Browns do. They all over. But let's say you get a position where, all right, your dad not there no more. It's gonna be somebody more hungry than you. You know, and they might. I don't be Shador off a QB1 position. Then it's like, are you gonna fold? And you know, if the Browns be a losing organization, let's say you start the season 0-5. It ain't like the Cavs where you could just hit the transfer portal. I mean, you could demand a trade, but you know how they ain't going for all that. Like, are you gonna be able to handle the pressure? Because it's not like you've been handling, but it's like you've been getting spoon fed. That if y'all get what I'm saying,
Nepotism.
that's my problem with Shador.
Nepotism, and I'm sure that there's nepotism to an extent because when your head coach is your dad, you know, and he's helping promote his son, like there's going to be nepotism for sure. But I'm sure that while that exists, it's not like he's out there playing bad. Like he is a good player, so he's making his own way, and I think that's part of his maturation as a pro athlete is going to be going somewhere where he's not with his father and proving that he can do it on his own. And we'll see. I mean, who knows how that's going to turn out. You know, I know Mike says that's the one, you know, that out of that group that he kind of likes. I think that, you know, if you guys are going for a quarterback, it's not a route that I would take this year personally, because again, it's like, you're trying to have a kid and you don't even have a house or a car or anything like that. Like you're putting them in a bad spot. Can you be successful? Absolutely. But it's an uphill battle at that point. So,
it all hinges on Miles. If Miles stays, we can take the quarterback. If we trade Miles, do not take the quarterback.
You might see a trickle down effect and more players wanting to bounce ship if Miles leaves. That's another thing I want to talk about this Browns offseason is TJ, where are you at? I know you kind of already talked about Miles and that you're okay with him, you know, requesting the trade. I am as well because I get it. Like I get where he's coming from. Do you think that the Browns should execute that trade? Do you think they should just trade him to the highest bidder in general, or try to work with a team that you know he would want to go to? Things like that. Do you have a time frame of when you think it should happen? Because there's a huge financial burden that comes with him being traded at particular times. If you trade him, you know, anywhere from now up until before June 1st, you're incurring a $36 million dead cap hit, and you already are in the red on your cap. If you were to work out a post June 1st trade, which that's not a thing, but if you were to execute a trade post June 1st, you wouldn't be getting any draft capital this year. But you'd be getting it for future years, again, when you'd be looking at retooling that team more, going after one of those quarterbacks in a year that has a better quarterback class. You save $5 million on the cap and only incur a dead cap hit of $14.8 million at that point. And it's tough to do that because, like I said, you can't designate a trade to happen after post June 1st, but you could absolutely have executed a trade and have it ready to go with a team. It just can't involve current year's draft capital.
All right. Well, let's see. Well, the way the Browns going with this, trying to move to Brook Park moves, and I guess they might draft the Shador to get, you know, the market team or whatever. They might draft Miles Garrett because they might feel like, you know, help the, because Miles give a lot of money to the Browns. The jersey sales, the way he marketed his marketing team, come on, we know how they do. So I think they're gonna do a trade. I think in Miles' team, I'll look at, let's see who y'all draft first. Because if y'all draft horrible, I still got the upper hand. He got the upper hand regardless. But if y'all trade him for a draft pick, but y'all still got that money y'all gonna have to pay y'all, it's like a lose-lose situation with the Browns, man. Like this one, it's like Miles Garrett got the upper hand where whatever he want to do. It's like the Browns. I don't know. That's a tough question. That's a tough call.
It's a tough spot to be in, man. It does kind of feel like a lose-lose Like you almost have to find a way to mitigate the loss as much as possible. And I think what Mike, I won't speak for you, but I know that you want to keep Miles. I know you love Miles Garrett. I get it. He's one of the best defenders in the league. I know that as a outside fan looking in, and it would suck to lose a guy like that. And obviously there's a lot of financial ramifications if you move on from him. So I'm sure that your hope would be that you keep him.
Yeah, keep him. Draft a quarterback, and then let's see. We have 11 draft picks in this draft. This is a pretty decent draft to get some interior offensive linemen and some defensive linemen as well. If we have to trade Miles, then I think the potential of trading down and stockpiling picks over the next 2 years sounds like a great idea. And we can start stockpiling the line this year with all those damn picks that we got. But right now, everything that I kind of have hinges on what they decide to do with Miles. Because if they trade Miles, I believe that there will be that domino effect. Joel Bitonio will retire. Denzel Ward will ask to be released or ask to be traded as well. So,
Man, Stefanski better turn to Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson in the '90s with the Cowboys, bro. You better be drafting Emmitt Smith and them.
yeah, they need to find somebody.
11 draft picks, man. You better be drafting somebody, but
they gotta get somebody. You can't miss on all of them. I mean, if they do, they're fired.
Yeah.
Enough of the Browns. So let's go ahead and move on Evo team. Minnesota Vikings. Go ahead, man. You go ahead and go first. This is your team. What's your thoughts on season and off season?
Oh, look, I believe Vegas had him at the beginning of the year over under 6.5 wins, and I took that bet over right away because the previous season obviously looked pretty good, and Vegas had kind of this gigantic swing because Kirk Cousins wasn't going to be there anymore. I've experienced Kirk Cousins. I know what he can do. He's a stat vulture. He is able to put up tons of yards, great numbers, but he's not going to take you to the promised land, especially not at the cap number that he's at. One of the delineating lines for a lot of teams out there, and it's been broken in recent years with the Chiefs and Mahomes, but if you have a quarterback taking up more than 15% of your annual cap space, you don't get a winning team because you can't build a roster around them. Because GMs, no matter how good they are in their scouting department, is you can't hit on 100% of players that you draft, and that's where you get your cheap players in and are able to kind of keep your team fresh with one of those elite quarterbacks or a quarterback being paid like an elite quarterback. We weren't going to be able to do that with Kirk Cousins. That's why I was ready to move on. I was happy that we went out and got JJ McCarthy. He was my guy, and I think I was like the rest of the general populace out there who was skeptical of what Sam Darnold could do, but I have a lot of faith in my coach in KOC, but I didn't have this much faith to get to 14 wins. Like that was incredible job, and a lot of it comes down to coaching. But the same kind of thing that I talked about with the Browns that I think my Vikings need to do, we need to have a good hard look at our trenches, and this is a great draft to do that. It's a good off season for us to do that because we got a lot of cap space. It's kind of like a flipped version of what you guys are going through there in Cleveland with the Browns. We got cap space, we got good veterans in place, and the only thing that we're missing is draft picks. We got 4 draft picks right now this year, and you guys got 11. So share a little bit of the love if you want. But look, we need to focus on the trenches. Our interior offensive line did not look good, especially down the stretch. Once our left tackle went down, our left guard started to not look great. Blake Brandel looked good at the beginning part of the year when he's playing up, right next to an all-pro left tackle. But he goes down for the year, and then the things start to degrade in the middle of the line. Our running game starts to suffer, and obviously the pressure messes with a guy like a Sam Darnold in the backfield. So we need to focus on that interior offensive line, get better there. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Brian Flores is kind of a magician with what he does scheme-wise as well. We were able to get by with, no disrespect to Stephon Gilmore, but I mean, he's like 34 years old. He's not the lockdown corner he once was. He played really good for us, but you got him, and opposite of him, you got Shaq Griffin, who's kind of a journeyman now, an average to below average vet cornerback. And they didn't look terrible because we were able to do a lot of good things schematically. But at the end of the day, if you're not getting pressure with basically 4 or 3 down linemen, a la what the Eagles did to these Chiefs in the Super Bowl, Like it's not going to be a winning formula long term. We need to get more stout along that defensive line. Again, Mike kind of brought this up. It's a really, really good draft to get defensive linemen, edge rush talent, stuff like that. We've already got the edge rush guys in house, so we need to focus on offensive line, specifically the interior, because our tackles are figured out, and then move on to that defensive line. And of course, there's the defensive backs. Both Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, they are both not under contract. Byron Murphy Jr. is not under contract, but I think we're going to do what we can to get him, even though he's going to be pricey. I think we're going to try to re-sign him back. So we do need to look at some defensive back depth. And then, one of my favorite positions, running back, Aaron Jones. I love what you did for us this year, but we need to look at some youth there. And this is, again, an awesome draft to go out there and get running backs. You got at least 12 to 15 guys who are, if not a true blue 3-down back, you got guys that are going to be heavy rotational usage guys, a lot of upside, well throughout the draft. So it's like an awesome year to go out there and get that. And that's where my Vikings need to focus is, interior offensive line, interior defensive line, running back, and some defensive back help. But I think we're going to be set up pretty decent for next year. I mean, the big question mark that I just haven't been talking about is what's going to happen with quarterback, right? What's going to happen with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy? And I think just like the Vikings did with Kirk Cousins, they're going to say, hey, we'd love to have you back, but this is our number, and we're not going to mortgage our future for a free agent contract to a quarterback. Sam Darnold earned himself a lot of money, a lot of paper this year. And it's just not going to work out for us to bring him back if he is concerned about getting that money, which he absolutely should be. He earned that money this year. He should go out there and get the bag wherever he can get it. And we'll move forward with J.J. McCarthy. That's the beauty of a rookie quarterback contract.
All right, Mike, I'm going to let you go. But hold on, let me ask you a question. Y'all just got y'all got franchise quarterback Daniel Jones. What you feel about him?
Hey, Minnesota is turning into quarterback rehab university. We made Josh Dobbs look decent. Nick Mullins, our backup, who was just a whatever guy in San Francisco before. When he goes in there, he might throw a lot of interceptions, but that guy throws for good yards and good touchdowns. Kevin O'Connell does good things with kind of retread quarterbacks and building up guys, getting the most potential out of them. Look, not a ton of NFL quarterbacks out there can say they won a playoff game. Daniel Jones can say he won a playoff game. All right, so you're starting to leg up, and KOC, like we know Daniel Jones can run. He's Vanilla Vic, right? But now KOC, if he gets what's going on right in the head and allows him to get a little better as a passer, that's a good backup quarterback. That's Daniel Jones. I think will be re-signed to the Vikings. He'll be the backup quarterback, and then either we'll trade him off if a quarterback needy team is out there, or he's going to go and try to do the Sam Darnold experiment and go somewhere else the next year and try to revitalize his career. Because, I mean, let's be real. He didn't look great at the end of his tenure there in the Giants. Not that he had too many great years in general with the Giants, but, I like him there as a backup quarterback. And if we have to start him, it's a lot better than other situations. I mean, no offense, but namely your Browns right now.
You're right. I just want to know, he's going to be the franchise quarterback. I'm like, go ahead.
He ain't the long-term guy.
No. So, yeah, Evo, you guys had a great year. You guys exceeded expectations, even your expectations. 14 wins was an astronomical number of wins for you guys compared to what you thought you were going to get. Because I was down on Sam Darnold, and he came out, balled out, earned that money like you talked about. I think that you guys should just move on. I think bringing Sam back probably at this point, while would be good for Sam, in the long run of his career, is it going to be good for him? I mean, it's guaranteed money probably on a 2-year deal, probably 40 of it guaranteed. So, that's great for him considering where his career was at one point. But if somebody will go out and pay him 3 years, $120 million and get 60 of it guaranteed, he's got to take that. And you guys should absolutely let him, because you brought it up. You guys need to address the interior of the offensive line. But this is not a great year for you guys to need that, because you don't have enough draft picks to address the running back spot, the interior line help that you need, the interior defensive line help that you need. So you kind of have to go and address and attack the free agency as well.
We got 4 big needs and 4 picks, baby. We can like I said, no GM gets 100% of the picks right. And Quessio Defamensa, I like him, but he's never really done fantastic at drafting. Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year that he gets 4 picks right. My guess is we're going to take pick 24, and I think we're going to try to swing whatever we can to trade down with it and accumulate a little bit more to take more shots.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that would make sense because you guys need the running back. It's going to be easy to find. But as you guys get later, deeper in the draft, are you going to continue to find those impact guys? Who knows? But I'm interested to see what the team looks like next year with J.J. McCarthy at the helm, which I think he should be. KOC will guide him pretty gently into his foray into the NFL, but you're going to need a running game. If you don't bring back Aaron Jones, you have to have somebody who can tote the rock for you for 3 downs. So you guys might be looking at running back earlier in the draft, even though there's a bunch of guys. You're going to want to go out and get a guy that you think is going to be somebody that's in that backfield for the next, at least 4 to 8 years.
Yeah. Hey, look, that's the thing is that when it comes to only having those 4 picks, the nice part is that we do have a lot of cap space this year to play around with. We can knock 1 to 2 of those positions kind of out by going out and getting some solid starting free agent players, and that frees us up more in the draft, even if we do trade down, to focus on the positions that we didn't go after in free agency, which I'm excited about. And then the thing with JJ and why I'm really excited to see him out there is, like, if you listen to the guy talk, he makes you believe he's going to be a winner. He's so smart for how young he is and so well versed in talking and everything. But beyond that, he's a student of the game with one of the best coaches out there. And if you listen to reports from training camp this last year, they were almost going to give him the keys to the car out of training camp if he hadn't have hurt that knee. And you saw the type of year Sam Darnold had. If Sam Darnold was option B to begin with, and J.J. McCarthy was what they were going to go with because he was outperforming him, and Sam Darnold did as good as he did, then what is J.J. McCarthy going to be? Like, he could be a step better than that. That would be incredible for us. I mean, that's very wishful thinking.
Healthy should be priority 1.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, if he reaches that potential, I mean, that's super exciting for me as a Vikings fan. And I'm super excited to get into that new era with him behind center.
Yeah, when the Vikings had Griffin, I just seen Griffin. Then y'all had Gilmore, Jones, and then the other Daniel Jones. It's like, and Harrison Smith. I forgot he's still playing. He been with y'all for a minute. But when y'all have a lot, you know how like the Rams. I said, you know how the Rams won Super Bowl a few years ago with Clay Matthews. They had a bunch of old vets and all them. I feel like that's what the Vikings weren't expecting to be 14-3. Let's be honest. They thought they was about to be 8-8. Some mid-tier team. So the fact that they exceed expectations, good for them. Now it's you in a pickle because we won so many games, now we got lower draft pick numbers. So I think they were kind of expecting them to be like mid and be up top. But J.J. McCarthy, come on, man. Come on, Evo. We all know he's supposed to be starting. Like, Sam Darnold, come on. He a New York Jets, dude. Like, get him out of here.
Well, that's the thing.
It could be a giant.
That's the thing with Darnold is, like, I don't think anyone expected this out of him. And a lot of that goes to the coaching. So if they were able to get that much production out of Darnold and J.J. McCarthy was your first round pick, like, the sky's the limit for that kid. So I'm excited.
In Minnesota, like from the Randy Mosses to Dante Culpeppers to the AP Adrian Peterson, y'all like to every decade y'all get generational offensive players. So I feel like they know they got J.J. McCarthy, but in case something backfires with him or he get injured, I think y'all go draft like a receiver paired with Justin Jefferson, or y'all might get another Adrian Peterson at running back because Aaron Jones, he old. But defensive side of the ball, I feel like y'all got Asian vets, like y'all both mentioned. So I feel like y'all might get like a linebacker, safety type with them last 2 draft picks. I don't know because I ain't in the whatever. But I feel like with Minnesota, y'all got a good core. I think y'all just need a more young core because the team kind of old. So
we were one of the oldest rosters in the NFL last year, which surprised me because it doesn't feel like it. But I mean, we did have a lot of vets playing on that defense. Stephon Gilmore, Harrison Smith, Shaq Griffin, even guys like Blake Cashman and Andrew Van Ginkel that we brought in. Those guys are closer to 30 than they are 25. So like they are older and getting the job done. I think it's just a testament to Brian Flores being able to get the most out of those guys for sure. But yeah, we need to focus on the youth. This last year, we weren't able to be super active in free agency because we were still dealing with the dead cap money from Kirk Cousins' contract. But that's all off. That's why we're looking at between 65 and $75 million of cap space this year. That's why we got all that money to play with, and we can go out there and retool and try to re-sign the youth guys that we got. But more importantly, I think we're going to be going after offensive linemen and possibly interior defensive linemen.
Do you see Justin Jefferson asking for a trade?
No, not after signing that contract. That's the one thing. Like, I feel so blessed to have Justin Jefferson on my team, not just because I think that he's the best receiver in the league, but because I've seen the other side of the diva in wide receivers. Randy Moss, love him to death, think he's the GOAT, but he worked his way out of Minnesota. It got stale. Things expired there for him, and he worked his way out. Stephon Diggs, most recently, awesome player, a Minneapolis Miracle, near and dear to my heart. But then he started doing the sideways tweets and stuff like that and worked his way out of Minnesota. JJ, while, working on this enormous contract, he's stayed true to the team. He didn't, go out in public and say anything negative. He's obviously got that fiery personality where he gets upset when they're losing, but never once has he actually gone out publicly, at least, and had any sort of like negative thoughts about the team. He's been, he hasn't had that diva side of being a wide receiver, and I feel super blessed for that because you see that a lot with other receivers in the league, right? So yeah, I don't think at this point that he's going to be looking for a trade. He's just happy he got that giant contract. He got the Netflix check for being on receiver, and he's getting the Little Caesars money and the Oakley's money. Like, he's living life pretty good right now. If something doesn't work out with a JJ McCarthy though, and the team doesn't pivot and try to bring some other talent, that's when you could see a situation like you guys are in Myles Garrett, where he's kind of like, hey, I need to go somewhere where I can put my talents to use.
I already see the advertisement. JJ to JJ. Watch. I'm calling it right now. They're going to have so many. Minnesota going to have billboard JJ and JJ. But JJ McCarthy, y'all need to put the press on him, man. Cause it's like, dude, Minnesota don't shape the offense where we're going to. He run the ball. He a running quarterback, ain't he?
He can run. He's like, we didn't get to see him run the 40. He didn't run it, but there are reports that he was running like 4.4. And at Michigan, he was able to work the pocket and run the ball decently. They're a run first team. And that was one of the knocks on him in the draft process, is that while he had good statistics and everything as far as like completion percentage, he didn't have bulk statistics. So people weren't so sure, can you be a true blue passer in the league consistently, just because Michigan was a run first team. And I think that's probably, Vikings have been a very, very pass heavy team. I think that we want to maneuver ourselves to being a little bit more like Michigan, where we can run more and allow JJ to operate like that. But we're going to see.
And that boy JJ, when he comes back from injury, I just hope he knows, dude, Minnesota fans don't be playing. You get they gave I remember y'all gave Randy and AP a little leeway because they was running back and receiver. Bro, you're the quarterback. As soon as y'all get to losing, they're on you, bro. I don't care even if y'all start off 10-0 or 5-0. If it's only like y'all winning by 1-2 games, y'all gonna be on them. Y'all know how y'all. It's like the Browns fans. We get to losing, it's over with. But yeah, I feel like the Minnesota. Yeah, y'all got an old core, but I feel like throughout the draft, y'all gonna have a young core, and yeah, y'all should be right there for it. Now, do you see the Packers and the Bears becoming problems again for y'all?
I mean, it's very realistic. The NFC North is super, super dangerous, and yeah. I will be the first to tell you, I hate the Packers with a passion. And I don't like ever talking about them possibly doing good. And I'm not a Jordan Love fan. I on our show, we talk a lot of trash about Jordan Love because we think that he's a little bit overrated. He's got accuracy issues and everything. But that you can't sit here and deny the record. You can't deny the running game that they have with Josh Jacobs. You can't deny what they've been doing and how consistent they've been with being a team that's getting wins, getting into the playoffs year in and year out. They're going to be good. Obviously, the Lions are what they are. You could see a step back after their entire coaching staff basically disappeared outside of Dan Campbell. And with that, Ben Johnson going to the Bears, if there's someone that can develop Caleb Williams into being a really good quarterback, it's probably going to be him. Bears already had a lot of good roster pieces in place. So I think that, yeah, it's going to be like the black and blue division of the NFC North is going to be black and blue going forward for the next couple of years because there's a lot of heavy hitters in this division. So it's going to be a lot closer to neck and neck when it comes down to those wild card spots and playoff spots. We could be looking the same thing that we had this year where you had 3 teams from the NFC North make the playoffs. You could be looking at that very regularly just because I think we are a really, really good division in the NFC.
As y'all can see, we do a lot of talk about the draft. That's a good segue. So, Eva, I don't know if you're an Ohio State fan. Mike, me and Mike are. I don't know if you are,
sure.
but
okay. Hey, congrats on getting Matt Patricia, baby. Woo! Yeah, you did it. You got him.
But you know, they just won national championship. You know, national championship teams, they have people get drafted. So the question is, do you see Ohio State repeating next year? And this upcoming draft, how many Ohio State players or what players in general you see can get drafted, even to y'all favorite team?
Gosh. So do I think they can repeat? Sure, as long as we keep paying. But that's gonna become a kind of a hard thing with the new rules that are going into place, some caps, certain restrictions with NIL. There's a lot going on in the Senate right now that's going to affect the way money can be spent. We will.
Did it happen again?
Mike, you have to come back, bro. Evo, go ahead, man. What you feel about Ohio State? Who can get drafted and whatnot?
So you're gonna have to keep me up to date with this because I know you got Jeremiah Smith. He's the hot name, right, at wide receiver. Is he even going to be draft eligible next year? Because that's the main guy I think that nationally everyone's watching. He was true blue freshman this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't know if he'll be available to come out in the draft. He's obviously the one to watch. But look, you guys have been a powerhouse, whether it's for receivers coming out in the draft, edge rushers, you know, a lot of defenders and whatnot. And you get them offensive linemen here and there as well. So I don't know player to player. I'm way more focused on this draft class right now and who's coming out. But I think that you guys do have that opportunity to still go out there and repeat and win another natty. It's just, like Mike was saying, it's really tough with the way the NIL deals are right now. A lot of money going a lot of places, making, you know, players mercenaries, journeymen, and that can really shake up the landscape pretty dang quick. One thing I know is I make fun of Ohio State because he's going out there and I'm Matt Patricia, and I think that he's in general kind of a subpar coach just from seeing what he did with the Detroit Lions when he was there. But obviously he did good things with the Patriots as a coordinator. But the one thing that you guys do got is Brian Hartline, and I don't know how much longer he's going to be sticking with Ohio State because the way that Brian Hartline has been coaching and putting out product in the NFL, like he's due for a bigger gig, whether that is moving on to be a head coach in college football or making it up to the pros and getting himself like an OC spot or possibly a head coach spot. So that I would say like you got the opportunity there with the pieces you got in place to win another natty. I think it'll be more difficult than it was this year because you are losing a lot of talent. But as soon as a guy like a Brian Hartline is off that coaching staff, goes somewhere else, that's when things are really going to possibly start to unravel because that has just been you look at all the guys who have come out from Ohio State under Hartline, Olave, Marvin Harrison, JSN, like tons of great dudes coming out of there, all under Hartline. Like that's going to be a tough loss if and when he ends up jumping shit.
Let me ask you a question. I just looked up Mike Patricia. I forgot who he was. I had to look him up. What's your problems with him?
I mean, he was absolutely terrible there with the Lions. Like, obviously, he did great things under Belichick with New England. Mm-hmm. But as soon as he went to the Lions, like, all he was known for was having that pencil in his ear and having bad teams. You saw Dan Campbell come in right after Patricia with mostly that same sort of roster and just